other southern pine that we really want to discuss doesn't have a lot of value from a pine straw standpoint, but does have a lot of ecological value, and it is a pine that you may come across from time to time, and it is a shortleaf pine. Shortleaf pine grows typically in more states than any other southern pine. It has the widest range of any southern pine, growing from down on the coast up into Tennessee, up into as far as New Jersey in some cases. Shortleaf pine is really easier to identify than some of the other southern pines. It does have a very small cone. It's has cones that sit right on the base. The base of the cone sits right on the stem. So it has no kind of real stem that makes it stick up from the actual branch of the tree. The scientific name of shortleaf is Pinus echinata, and that actually means, its scientific name actually means bristly, sort of like a hedgehog. So that's, echinata is a word for hedgehog, and so it's like a bristly type cone, bristly type tree, and that comes from the way that the cones look on the branches, because there's many cones on the branches, as you can see here. They again sit right, the base of the cone sits right on the branch, and it has lots of them, so gives the tree sometimes this bristly appearance. So that's where the scientific name comes from, Pinus echinata, for shortleaf pine. Another way to identify shortleaf pine is with the needles. The needles are much shorter than those of loblolly or slash or longleaf. They may be in groups of 3 or 2, just depending on your tree. But they do not make good pine straw. As you can see, they're very short and really would not make good pine straw. Be very difficult to bale, and also wouldn't last as long in the land. Slash pine is also commonly baled for pine straw. It's probably the most second common after longleaf, probably the most second valuable after longleaf as well. Again, it is more adapted to wet areas, more like loblolly. Slash pine is not normally a species that you would see further inland. It's more of a coastal species, but back in the 50s, 40s, it was widely planted. It was one of the most widely planted tree species at one time. So slash pine, you'll see it a lot of times in more inland areas, but most of the time it was planted, and that's how it was there. Another thing that happened with slash pine, as longleaf pine was harvested at the turn of the last century, slash pine would seed in these areas that were maybe abandoned fields or areas that were cut over of longleaf pine areas. One way that you can tell slash pine needles is that they're usually in bundles of 2, as opposed to bundles of 3 for longleaf or bundles of 3 for loblolly. The loblolly cones and the slash cones are really similar. The slash cones don't have as much in the way of the spines on the ends, and the loblolly cones, they're not the glossy kind of brown color of the slash pine, and they have more pronounced spines on the ends.